Good day, everyone. I'm Michael Clark. I'm the director of the OPC Foundation North America. Let's go to the next slide, Sandra. Among the dozens and dozens of initiatives that the OPC Foundation hosts, today we're going to focus on the mining sector and the OPC UA for Mining Companion Specification. Next slide. Before we go too much deeper, though, allow me to offer an idea of why OPC Foundation is the perfect organization in which industrial interoperability initiatives are managed. First of all, the foundation is independent and it maintains an IEC global standard, and that standard is IEC 62541, and that is the OPC UA standard. Secondly, you couldn't ask for a more neutral ecosystem in which to collaborate. You could say that we're kind of the United Nations of the industrial automation sector. Thirdly, speaking of independent, neither member companies nor countries nor even world regions control the foundation. The fourth point is that OPC standards are jointly developed. It's never done autonomously. And the last point I wanted to make is that over 860 member companies, and that list continues to grow, attest that OPC UA is the most widely adopted interoperability standard on the planet. Next slide. I don't want to overlook some of our member companies, but it's not lost on everyone here that every major cloud solution provider is a member of the OPC Foundation, providing cloud connectivity while preserving data semantics. Fully secure, end-to-end, from sensor to cloud and back. You'll see on this slide here that Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud Platform, Amazon Web Services, IBM, SAP, and Siemens MindSphere. These are some of the major cloud providers that are already members of the foundation. Next slide. I'm showing a collage here, and it's merely a sample of the collaborations in which OPC Foundation is involved. And I say a sample because right now there's 66 joint working groups that are underway, and it's challenging to categorize each organization into a unique sector, since many of the organizations and many initiatives spill over into the categories shown here. Let's look at VDMA, for example, the case in point here. They're presenting today, but you can see that they're under factory automation here, but they've participated in initiatives that go beyond energy, factory automation, process automation, and the like. So it's hard to pigeonhole anyone into a particular category here. Next slide. Diving a little deeper into the collaborations that OPC UA, or the OPC Foundation hosts. As I said before, there's 66 currently, including mining, which is what we're talking about today. The IPR policy, which we call the MOCA, so that stands for Multi-Organization Cooperation Agreement, MOCA, it's elegantly simple and modernized to protect all parties while making participation extremely easy. The base specification, which is called OPC UA, that's the 62541 IEC standard I mentioned earlier. That's the data modeling standard. And it's extendable by means of these companion specifications. So industry-specific companion specifications build upon the base spec. This expands upon domain-specific information models using everything from discrete to process to the energy industry. Next slide. And I don't want to forget to remind everyone here that in a world gripped with cybersecurity concerns, let's look at the 7 security features natively embedded within the UA construct. The first 3 are the AAA, authentication, authorization, and auditability. Authentication is facilitated with public key infrastructure, PKI, which enables trust between the applications, and this includes certificates. Authorization is who's allowed to do what with the data, and the third A, auditability, that's to trace who made what requests. The next 3 are the CIA triad, as some call it. That's confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Confidentiality keeps information private between entities. Integrity remains unchanged from the sender to the receiver. And lastly, availability, maintaining operational communication channels and denial of service attacks are more effectively dealt with using connection requests. And then the seventh security feature is non-repudiation. That's proof of data origin and that the data has integrity, and this includes cryptography and digital signals, or digital signatures, I apologize. So rather than have questions and answers now, I'm going to ask that we hold questions until the end. We'll have a good, robust Q&A session at the conclusion. If you'll allow me now, I'll pass over to Jörn and allow him an opportunity to share what VDMA is working on. Take it away, Jörn.
Thank you, Mike. And you gave a great arguments for why the VDMA is supporting OPC UA. Next slide, please. I will give you a short overview that OPC UA mining initiative is not the only initiative in the VDMA. We have all about 25 association working groups and forums that deal with or is working on OPC UA mining companion specifications, and some of them are have really published some companion specification, and in the mining we have now sent out the first release candidates to the OPC Foundation for comments. So if anyone would like to take a look on our companion specification, feel free, and we would like to receive any comments on our work for this. The VDMA has nearly 3,500 members, and it's a large network organization, all about mechanical engineering and some industry between process industry and so on. Next slide, please. The next slide. Oh. And here you have the overview about the working groups. And as you see, we have more than 25 associations working on and more working groups on this. And it's really important for us in the VDMA to share our experience between the different working groups, to develop companion specification that's had the most or best results for the industry. Next slide, please. So now coming up for the partners of the OPC UA mining initiative, we have our partners from the industry coming from Germany, but also from Australia, like Roy Hill, or coming from, oh, I didn't see some Canadian guys, but then we have cooperation like iReaders, or we have the support for the University of Aachen, which helps us to develop the companion specification in the right way. Next slide, please. The next slide. I give you a short overview about our joint working group. We have structured our work in specialist groups like the long wall, the mobile machines, the working group of iReaders or the band conveying or processing. And all these specialist working groups are working on the use cases and development of the companion specification of their special part for the machines. And in the joint working group, where all these information come together, we discuss the outcomes of the work of the specialist groups and to harmonize that they will fit in our all-over mining initiative. Our chairwoman comes from ICOF, Mrs. Mavrudis, and I'm responsible for the organization and the support of the whole working groups. And the University of Aachen AMT Advanced Mining Technology was bring up together all the information coming from the working groups and develop our OPC UA companion specifications mining. Next slide, please. As you see, we have the use cases within the current mining initiative. And next, you will see we start with the longwall. Can you go ahead, please? Starting with the load and haul with the mobile machinery. Then next, we have a working group for the longwall. Next. Then we have our cooperation with iReaders, where we have the drill rig mapping. Next. And now coming up, we have the development on the working group conveying and processing, where they currently is starting the work on the defining of the use cases in the special area of conveying and processing. And we have under the way a cooperation or possible cooperation with RD Test Lab coming from Australia, where we try to define the work together on drill units or the communication with superordinate systems. Next slide, please. Our work was starting with the mining landscape, because in the mining it's very heterogeneous and we have not one mining machinery where we can start with the working on. For this reason, we have tried to get all the experts together to define the or to start with interested manufacturers or experts from the mining with the first use cases, to develop the use cases, to analyze the process, to specify the objects that we need for the companion specification. And we have several loops, feedback loops, to find the right way to develop our companion specifications in the right structure. Next slide, please. First of all, we would like to point out that the role of the use cases. The discussion was really hard to get the right way, because most of the machines have hundreds of variables, alarms and events available. And it was really hard that we tried to not to use all the possible available variables for our use cases. We would like to start with these data sets that's needed, that's necessary for the communication in one process in the use case. And for this reason, we have not used all of the variables of the machines. We have defined it and in a way that in the OPC UA mining companion specification is the necessary set of variables and alarms. And if any manufacturer or mine operator needs more, there's a possibility to have manufacturer extension to define it with the customers and manufacturer what kinds of additional information are needed for the process in the special development, in the special use case or application. Next slide, please. So coming up with the use case definition in a more detailed way. Next slide. The first for the use case definition is, we have to define the actors which are communicating in the special use case. Then we have in the next step try to define the sequence diagrams to see if our ideas for the communication between the different machines are the right one. And after this, we define the machine sheets, and the university have developed the information models of this. And every step of this, there was different feedback loops to get to the test implementation, and at the end to have the ready or the developed companion specification documentation. Our first review was within the working group, for example, for the longwall and the mobile machinery on the right side, and the working group on conveying and processing are at the beginning of this working process. Next slide, please. So we have tried to develop the mining documents well thoroughly explained, easily readable, and stick to the standards of the OPC UA companion specification template. Go ahead. For this, it was, or we have read all the other companion specification, try to derive do's and don'ts, and we have seen that we need use examples. We will use references and simple illustrations to find to have the right companion specification that will be easily readable. Next slide. The architecture of the companion specification mining will capture all the communication aspects across the whole operational life cycle in the mining. We have the vertical dimension to integrate superordinate services, and the horizontal dimension to integrate and classify equipment and assets. Go ahead. For this reason, we have, you see the automation pyramid with the planning and logistics systems, operation, execution, services, monitoring system, and on the bottom, the machinery with transportation and dumping equipment, for example. And so we try to integrate these different aspects of the communication within the mining companion specification. Next slide. Next one. go ahead, please. To get this. Oh, there was one. Yeah. And as you see, the pyramid of the mining automation pyramid, we have tried to put it into documents, and starting with the mining general companion specification, to describe all the things what we have covered already in the specifications. We have then the application cases to give a short overview about the different use cases. And then coming up with the external standard like readers, the Palo systems, like the phase alignment systems from the longwall equipment, and on the bottom, the different machines like dozer, rear dump trucks, and so on. And next slide, please. And for this, we tried to give explanations on the different documents, how to read our companion specifications. Our recommendation is that you read first the general part to have an overview about all the different types of machinery. So you can go ahead, with the different types.
Sorry, Jörn,
Yeah.
is this one okay?
It's fully okay. And go ahead, please.
Yeah.
So at the end, I would like to come to the last slide, please.
Yep. Outlook, way to go.
Yep.
So I don't know if you can see it, but I think I'm having a connection issue. Can you see the Outlook way to go?
Yeah,
we can see it.
I can see it.
Okay.
It's perfect. So let's make another look at our map. We have taken the first step for creating the mining companion specification, but there's still a way to go, or a long way to go, before the entire mining sector is covered. We would be happy if GMG or any experts coming from the mining will work with us together on this very big task. So we are aware that can only be done successfully together. It's not a VDMA or OPC UA initiative alone. We need the support of the mining industry. So I'm happy if GMG and the experts of GMG would join in this initiative to give a big support to our work and try to cover the entire mining environment. So, Andrew, I'm happy to hear what's going on in GMG. And
excellent, thank you, Jörn. And yeah, it is a large task, and I think the diversity and the many hands make light work, as they say. And I think that this is actually on the right track. So definitely very thankful for you going over the material there, but also emphasizing how important this task is. So I'll just say a few words, because I'm really keen to get some questions from the audience. So those who are online, please get your questions ready, because we've got some fantastic speakers here that definitely I think is a great opportunity. So get your questions ready. But just as a quick overview, again, building off what Sandra talked about, GMG's all about, volunteers coming together, having conversations, very similar to what was described as the United Nations of OPC, and the vast network and collaborative organization of VDMA. And so we are part of the ecosystem. And, one of the things the key things we do is essentially around the working groups. Not as many working groups as OPC and VDMA, but we've definitely got some working groups. And then of those working groups, there's definitely projects that come through those working groups. Next slide, please, Sandra. So one thing I wanted to emphasize is Sandra mentioned around that this would fit nicely with the work that's going on with data access and usage, because that's the core. But one thing I wanted to sort of highlight is data comes up in every one of our working groups. So artificial intelligence, for example, data is a key piece. And some of the biggest challenges facing the implementation of AI is the access of data and the movement of information throughout our business networks and operational networks. So that plays a role. Asset management. Asset management is definitely core to the mining process. And it still has many challenges around, and actually highlights a lot of what Jörn was talking about. So asset management has a real need. The autonomous mining, as we are automating more of our equipment at our mine sites, and most of our mine sites are typically heterogeneous, as already been highlighted. So it's mixed fleets, it's different types of equipment, communicating at different rates, different levels, and so there's a big need there. Cybersecurity, and it was great to hear highlight the foundation of OPC UA is built on that cybersecure framework, because cybersecurity is something that the mining industry is feeling, and data is a key aspects of that. The electric mine is another great opportunity as we are decarbonising, the speed at which we're electrifying and sort of looking to leverage a decarbonised solutions. Information is key. Monitoring batteries and monitoring infrastructure. So data is a core of that. Mineral processing is very much the same. It comes up time and time again about the difficulties with which we are integrating our data sets and information systems. And underground mining is another key area. Sustainability, which is sort of focused, it's just getting started, but I'm sure as we get going, data will be key. And so there's a role for OPC UA playing all throughout all of these working groups. One thing I also wanted to emphasize is the importance of the testing facilities. So we mentioned early test lab, and you saw on Jörn's diagram, we get to a point where we do need to do those test implementations and then tie that feedback loop into the work. And so having these testing facilities is really critical, important. So I want to thank anybody who's on the call from Erdi Lab and the great support that they're providing. So with that, I'm going to finish there so we've got time for questions. And I see someone does have their hand up.